weapons and doing as much destruction as possible. The idea was that by this stage it was becoming total warfare. In the distance you will see that the Union Army is pushing back some Confederates. By 1864, the Confederate Army is in dire straits. They have lost lots of men, their equipment is now in tatters, but they are still holding out. The Union Army, much better supplied. Although he was ripping up the Confederate railways, at this stage they were actually building a railway behind them as well, their own railway. American Civil War, one of those periods of time when innovation was taking over. It was powering the Industrial Revolution in America. Lots of innovations. Some of the men coming towards you in the Union Army now will be supplied with breech-loading weapons, as opposed to the existing muzzle loaders, which you will see that most of the Confederates are carrying. The problem was, though, that both armies were still fighting as they did 20, 30, 40 years beforehand. In some respects, still fighting shoulder to shoulder. As you can see, the Confederates are obviously really outnumbered here. The American Civil War fought between 1861 and 1865 between the northern states and the southern states. The northern states were mostly industrial, whereas the south was agrarian, mostly farmers with light industry. So consequently, they had to move their time forward trying to manufacture equipment. The population of America at this time was probably somewhere near 23 million, which when you think about it these days is not that high. The casualties in the American Civil War reached somewhere in 620,000 killed. This war actually was not succeeding in casualties until America hit the Vietnam War, when that number was succeeded. So there was more men killed in the American Civil War than the First and the Second and Korea put together. Amongst those casualties, though, of course, is the fact that for every 3 soldiers killed in battle, 5 probably died of disease. You have to remember these men, a lot of these men, especially in the south, farmers' boys, really meet a lot of people. Even in the north, a lot of these people came from small communities. So once they all got together, when you got hundreds of thousands of men or tens of thousands of men together, they reached a stage where disease became rife, smallpox, measles, amongst a number of other diseases. Of course, the medical treatment at this time also was very, very bad. Notice that some of these lads, the troops nearest you in the Union Army, are wearing fur on their hats. These are called bucktails, which are 44 Pennsylvania. The guys furthest from you are the 18th Missouri. At this moment, they're part of the Army of Tennessee. The American Civil War produced lots of new innovations. First use of mass-produced railways to supply men and equipment. specifically on the Union side, the troops were transported to battles on trains. Made first real use of telegraphy. Even Abraham Lincoln was connected to the battlefront by telegraph. One of the first real uses of air balloons for observation was used. The first use of ironclads. These battleships were virtually made of complete iron, but were really thick iron. Some of these Confederates you will see here are probably using English weapons. A lot of the Confederacy were using Enfield rifles. England actually supplied a lot of weapons to the Confederacy, and even down to buttons. By the end of the war, they even had the use of machine guns of some sort. Also a submarine, believe it or not, which is quite incredible. England also built a lot of warships for the Confederacy. The most famous, the Alabama, was built in Liverpool by Camel-Airs. And the other odd one about that was 60% of the crew were actually Welsh. The larger cannon you see in the distance is a 6-pounder. These are one of the smaller field pieces, not the smallest, but more portable. The Confederates are using small field guns, which are really small, hence their shorter range. These weapons are, in actual fact, not very accurate. And that's why, in some respects, they still fight shoulder to shoulder, because it's actually the volume of lead bullets flying through the air that does the damage. Individual shots are fairly rare to hit a target. There was an expression for these Union troops coming down here. They were known as Sherman's bummers. The word is actually got a different meaning. To go on a bummer meant to wander around, to walk, to travel. One of the things that Sherman's troops used to like to do was rip up the railway lines, heat them over hot fires, and turn them into ties, tie them 9 knots. As the troops get closer to you, you will see how these weapons are loaded. Each man has a paper cartridge with a lead bullet on top. He has the bite powder charge, pour it down the barrel, then place the bullet, ram it home. Then I have a small cap, which is percussion, which ignites the powder. Most of these units in the American Civil War were very much like the Pals battalions in the First World War. They came from small towns, so they all knew each other. I mean, even in the States, some of the bigger Union units from the big major cities like New York, they would even know each other. I mean, in the Union Army, you would have regiments of Germans, Norwegians, separate units. There was even some Scotch units from New York who actually went into battle fighting in trues or in kilts. The Irish were really, again, prominent actually on both sides of the army. The Union Army, as an overall, actually fielded in the end over 1.5 million men on the field. And it was estimated that it cost £2 million a day, $2 million a day to keep the armies in the field. So you can imagine that spread over 5 years, the battle.
Running away, they are. They're running away.
Lots of reasons given for the American Civil War. A lot of it is to do with states' rights. The 13 original states that succeeded from the Confederacy. I'll just hold on while they have a truce.
That weren't very nice, was it?
Now you can see why.
Shot him in the back.
It is a war of attrition.
The Americans don't do things like that.
Nothing stood in the way. The army under William to come under Sherman. The war at this stage was not going well for the Confederacy. Lee had lost to Gettysburg the year before, and at this stage of the year, they are in siege at a place called Petersburg. The trenches at Petersburg were very, very much like the First World War. They were even undermined as they were on the Western Front. Now you can see how that when a battalion fires as a volley, you can see the amount of firepower within the larger formations. So if you can imagine something like 1,000 men in line, all firing at the same time. But of course, the thing about this type of warfare is the Confederacy's soldiers here are defending their homeland. The troops here, of course, are from Pennsylvania and Missouri. Confederate casualties were very hard to pin down because most of the paper was lost. It's estimated like 600,000 Confederates lost their lives. Soldiers lost their life through this war.
There's not many Confederates left.
Looks like they're getting ready
Oh, they're fixing better.
to advance. You may notice that the larger battalions have actually fixed bayonets. Now they're going in with the fixed bayonet. The end must be nigh. I do believe they've upset the villagers. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's a war of attrition. Nothing is very nice in this type of war. Brother against brother, father against father, son against father. Having caused destruction, the army moves on.